All right, welcome back to another episode of the Psychopedia podcast. I am your co-host here with my early riser, morning early bird gets the worm co-host.
Investigators later.
It's 7 a.m.
Might as well be.
Yeah.
I've been up since 5.
Ew.
No, amazing.
I had a banana at 5 and went back to bed.
No peanut butter smeared all over it?
No, you know what I've been doing actually? I got a lock.
You did again?
Yes, no, but like a legit, like that did not work. Welcome to the Psychopedia podcast, first of all. Second of all, I have a problem with eating in the middle of the night. I'll do a whole Patreon episode about it if you want, because it's just too much. So I got one of those things that like you lock your cell phone in or your whatever when you're trying to concentrate. It's like a clear box with a timed whatever lock. So I lock the cabinet. I have to take the bread from the refrigerator now and put it in there because I was eating cream cheese sandwiches like I'm 4 years old at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Did you add jelly to it at least?
Yes, I did.
Yep.
A couple of times. Not every time. I'm not there.
Listen.
Mentally.
If you're going to do it, do it.
Exactly. So I take all the stuff, the peanut butter especially, the Nutella, I put it in the pantry, lock it, put that key in the thing, wake up every morning trying to figure out a way to get that pantry open.
You're like a rabid raccoon.
Yeah.
You are. You're a peanut butter fueled raccoon.
I wish I was a peanut butter fueled raccoon at that point. I have to sustain myself on cheddar cheese. I'm a rat.
Rat king. Thank you very much.
Rat stuff. Well, listen. Okay, so this case, obviously, I know nothing about what I'm about to sit and endure.
It's pretty rough. Consider yourself warned.
It is?
Yeah. It's going to be reminiscent of a case that we've covered. It has a similar, unfortunately, horrific storyline. Details are different. Devils are in the detail and they're all different. But the big, horrible thing that happened, it's going to remind you of something.
Okay, very good. Can't wait. A couple of things. One, we are doing our first live show at The Stand in New York City on October 24th. And it is sold out.
Yeah.
Yes, it sold out so fast. And we own so what we're doing with the tickets and merch when it's ready and all that kind of stuff, when the new merch is ready, we feel like we have to give it to the Patreon people first because they're paying hard-earned money to get access to certain things about us. More content, behind the scenes, but also like first dibs at tickets. So we posted about it once and it was sold out.
It was sold out, which is incredible. And we are so grateful. Thank you to everybody who purchased a ticket. And truly, we apologize for those who didn't get a chance to do that. Because
and this is not like to make you to try and coerce you to go into Patreon. It's just explaining like why we do that because they, again, they're paying for access to certain things.
It's like a bittersweet experience because we're so grateful to our patrons for being so quick to purchase all the tickets. Yeah. But we also, of course, feel very bad that we weren't able to put it publicly. This blindsided us. The success of this first event in terms of ticket sales came out of nowhere, I feel like.
Immediately we started thinking about other cities. And
so. And how to, next time we'll do a bigger venue so we have more tickets and we're learning, guys. This is our first live show.
Yes.
So we're learning.
We're very excited.
Bear with us. But we're
October 24th, if you want to go stand outside like a Taylor Swift concert and try and hear, we'll shake the shit. We're going to cause an earthquake. We got some really interesting stuff planned.
We do.
That I don't think we've discussed.
We've discussed it in the past, in our dreams, basically.
Yeah.
And now we get to make it a reality.
Yeah, we do. Speaking of Patreon, head on over to patreon.com/psychopediapod. If you love this podcast and you're just not getting enough of it, you don't want to wait every week until Wednesday for a new episode. We drop weekly episodes on Monday over there, and then a monthly Tankopedia and Slaterpedia, 2 full-blown new bonus true crime cases that we've never covered before. I don't know if you've ever heard them, but we've never covered them before, and it's a lot of fun. Patreon.com/psychopediapod. With that said, I'm going to read a few names so you get your recognition.
Let's go.
That we also desperately want, right?
Yes.
Some of them I don't understand, and I'm going to need clarification. So if I say your name and I say I don't understand it, please explain it to us very fast. Vanessa Patterson. Easy.
What's up, V?
Crime de la crime. Needs no explanation.
Crime de la crime.
Oui, oui. Hillary Mann.
Hey, Hillary.
Anna Poole. Lisa Perry. Charles Entertainment Cheese.
Yes. Yes, Chucky.
Which is the Chuck E. Cheese formal. Bazooka me in the head. Don't know what it means. Need an explanation. Maybe I've said it about wanting to die before.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. And then this is whatever. This is the one that I was smiling about. New bonnet boofing.
Yes.
Just new boof goofing.
Just new bonnet boofing.
New bonnet boofing. Genius.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Wait, I want to say one thing that you didn't say that you typically say, and I love it. So I'm going to just pick up where you left off.
Please.
If this is your first time here, welcome. And if it's not your first time here, welcome back, freak.
Let's welcome home.
Oh, God damn it. Can you just remember it next time?
Of course.
Okay.
I'll try. So without any further ado, even though I want to just do a lot of ado.
And that's what Patreon's for.
But I don't want to hear this case. So I just want to do it to death. But I will not. I will digress. I will shut up and I will let you begin walking me through this case.
Here we go. On the unusually warm afternoon of Thursday, December 16th, 2004, in the quiet town of Skidmore, Missouri, 44-year-old Becky Harper felt a growing sense of unease. It wasn't like her 23-year-old...
Especially for you, because you're short. Okay.
We are one sentence in. It wasn't like Becky's 23-year-old daughter, Bobbi Jo Stinnett, to be so silent, and the lack of communication was becoming more unsettling by the minute. Earlier that day, Becky called Bobbi Jo to ask if she could pick her up from work at the Summit Oil Company just 2 blocks east of Bobbi Jo's home, which was located at 410 Elm Street. Unfortunately, Bobbi Jo explained that she couldn't pick Becky up that day, as a new client of hers was arriving momentarily to see one of the rat terrier puppies that Bobbi Jo had from her at-home breeding business, Happy Haven Farms.
There's that rat again.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Well, I'm the one who's obsessed with rats. So
obviously.
Naturally.
As the hours passed and the warm December sun began to sink, Becky's worry about not hearing back from her daughter transformed into a gnawing anxiety. The silence was too strange, too out of character for her Bobbi Jo. Unable to shake the feeling that something was wrong, Becky decided to leave work early at 3:18 p.m. to walk the short distance to Bobbi Jo's house as the afternoon suddenly turned heavy with foreboding. When Becky arrived at her daughter's house at 3:26 p.m., she immediately noticed that the front door was open, which instantly set off alarm bells in her now racing mind. Becky's heart began to pound as a deep maternal instinct warned her that something was terribly, terribly wrong. With mounting dread, she stepped inside, and moments later, her worst fears were confirmed. Because as Becky entered Bobbi Jo's home, she was confronted by a horrific sight. The wood floor in the den to her left was absolutely soaking in blood. This was the room where Bobbi Jo kept her puppies alongside 2 metal dog cages and an old dresser in the corner that she used for grooming. So at first, Becky thought that there'd been an accident or a tragic mishap with one or some of the puppies. The scene before her was absolute gruesome chaos, and Becky struggled to take it all in. Blood splattered from one end of the room to the other, mingling with heel marks and palm prints, all smudged together in a macabre tapestry of shocking violence. Then Becky's breath caught in her throat as the full horror of the scene unfolded before her eyes, as if in slow motion, each detail more devastating and impossible to process than the last. Because on the ground beneath her lay the source of all that blood, something no parent should ever have to see. Her daughter, arms folded over her chest, face drenched in blood, dead. Becky frantically called 911, and when dispatch asked her to explain exactly what she was seeing, she struggled to describe the absolute bloodbath surrounding the fresh corpse of her only daughter.
I hate when they do that. Just fucking come.
I know.
Don't make me say what's happening. I'm having a nervous breakdown.
I can't even believe I remembered 911.
Yeah.
Gripping the phone with trembling hands, Becky answered the dispatcher's question by saying, "My daughter's stomach exploded." Because clear as day, Bobbi Jo's midsection had been brutally ripped open, exposing her innards. You could clearly see various organs and layers of skin and muscle callously torn apart. But crucially, what Becky couldn't see amidst the carnage was the nearly full-term fetus that Bobbi Jo had been carrying inside of her eviscerated womb for the last 8 months. All that remained now was a severed umbilical cord.
Womb raider?
This is the devastating case of the heinous murder of Bobbi Jo Stinnett and the shocking fetal abduction of her unborn baby girl, Victoria Jo.
Thanks for listening. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And if you made it this far, you made it. Let's go. Okay, thanks.
Where do I even begin?
Where do you begin?
Well, before we dive headfirst into the darkest depths of human depravity, let me first set the stage for this unfathomable crime. Skidmore, Missouri is a teensy tiny Slater-sized, all-land, corn and soybean-framed farming city in western Nottoway County, Missouri, with a population of around 245 residents.
What the fuck?
I know. It's like, I feel like there's more people in my grocery store at any given moment.
Even at 10 p.m.?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has been described as, quote, the creepiest small town in America in a 2019 Medium publication because in Skidmore, time itself seems to have stopped ticking.
Skidmore, Missouri, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
The past feels ever present and the present feels eerily stagnant. With its middle-of-nowhere position in America's heartland, there's a noticeable lack of infrastructure replaced instead with a rustic charm. Flannel shirts swaying gently on clotheslines, white farmhouses standing sturdy and welcoming, and red barns with peeling paint peppering the countryside. Side note, there is a Luke Combs song, he's a country singer, that I absolutely love. It's called Middle of Somewhere, and it's about people who live in small towns just like this, and this is the main chorus. Ready? It
Try
goes,
that in a small town.
No, it goes like this. And we like life that way, sweet and slow and simple. Ain't for much we pray, 'cause all we need's a little. So just remember, when you're driving through nowhere, to us, that's the middle of somewhere. I like that a lot. Bobbi Jo's little home at 410 Elm Street was quaint and charming. Shaded by 2 large elm trees that framed the front porch, the house radiated a welcoming warmth that perfectly reflected the kindness of its owners, Bobbi Jo and her husband, Zeb.
Zeb?
Yeah. It's a pretty cool name, actually.
Short for?
I don't know.
Zebediah?
It doesn't say Zebediah anywhere in the research, just Zeb.
I mean, Sebastian?
Well, Zev is a name, like Z-E-V is an actual name, not short for anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's Hebrew, but that's the full name. Born on December 4th, 1981 in the rural northwest of Missouri.
That's Jay-Z's birthday.
Oh, wow. Okay. Bobbi Jo graduated from Nottoway Holt High School in Graham, Missouri in 2000, and by 2002, she was married to her high school sweetheart, Zeb. The couple were expecting their first child, a baby girl, to arrive on January 19th, 2005. Their lives seemed perfectly set in the sweet, slow, and simple rhythm of small-town life. As Bobbi Jo was nearing the end of her pregnancy, she started to slow down day-to-day life to prep for the impending chaos that is parenthood. She wrapped up her job at the Kawasaki Motors manufacturing plant in the nearby town of Maryville and decided to focus solely on her at-home dog breeding business instead. Bobbi Jo loved rat terriers, and she bred, sold, and showed them at dog shows. She regularly posted on forums, such as one called Ratter Chatter, which is where, unfortunately, in 2004, she met a lunatic named Darlene Fisher, who used the screen name Fisher for Kids. A bit of sickening foreshadowing there. To Bobbi Jo, Fisher for Kids was another rat terrier enthusiast who posted on the same forums that she did. They began publicly posting messages to each other online, including this one that was published by Darlene to Bobbi Jo on Wednesday, December 13th at 4:22 p.m.
The day before.
Darlene wrote, I was recommended to you by, I'm going to leave the name out, and have been unable to reach you by either phone or email. Please get in touch with me soon as we are considering the purchase of one of your puppies and would like to ask you a few questions. At 7:44 p.m. that same day, so just a few hours later, Bobbi Jo, delighted to have received the message, responded with, Darlene, I've emailed you with the directions so we can meet. I do so hope that the email reaches you. Great chatting with you on Messenger, and I do look forward to chatting with you tomorrow morning. Have a great evening. Signed, Bobbi. Darlene told Bobbi Jo that she lived about 20 miles west of Skidmore in Fairfax, Missouri, and that she could visit Bobbi Jo's home the following morning. Bobbi Jo eagerly coordinated the visit because meeting prospective families for her puppies was essential to her. She was committed to finding safe and loving homes for each pup and took pride in her reputation. Her business, Happy Haven, followed the breeder code of ethics, and she was outspoken about her disdain for puppy mills, making it clear that Happy Haven was nothing like those unethical operations, which I was really happy to read about.
Yeah.
Darlene seemed to genuinely assure Bobbi Jo that she wanted to provide a loving home for one of her puppies, and Bobbi Jo felt confident of her genuineness. Sadly, Bobbi Jo was sorely mistaken, and nothing could have prepared her, or anyone else for that matter, for the horrifying truth behind Darlene Fisher.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't already guessed, none of what Darlene said was true. In fact, her name wasn't even Darlene Fisher. It was Lisa Montgomery. And Lisa, who lived 187 miles away in Melbourne, Kansas, was not interested in adopting a puppy. Rather, she was interested in one thing and one thing only: Bobbi Jo's unborn baby.
How did she know that she had a baby? Communications?
Communications, exactly right. And Bobbi Jo was constantly posting on forums and attending dog shows, and she was really focusing on the breeding business. So I think she was out there. People knew her.
8 months pregnant, so
exactly.
It was obvious at that point.
Lisa was a deeply, deeply troubled woman with a traumatic past that included severe abuse believed to have caused actual brain damage, which contributed towards a vast array of serious mental illnesses, which of course we're going to dissect.
Sure.
And behind her chilling mask of puppy love and small-town normalcy existed indescribable depravity. So let's explore the horrific yet tragic woman behind the mask. Lisa Montgomery was born on February 27th, 1968, and faced unspeakable, I mean that, hardship and abuse from the very moment she was conceived in Pierce County, Washington. Born into a family burdened by a legacy of mental illness, kidnappings, brain damage, and domestic violence.
Jeez.
Lisa Montgomery's life began in the womb, bathed in the very alcohol that contributed towards her organic brain damage and mental impairments.
Fetal alcohol syndrome?
Yes.
Yeah.
So brain imaging studies have shown that on average, children with fetal alcohol syndrome have smaller brains than normal and defects in the frontal lobe, corpus callosum, cerebellum, hippocampus, and basal ganglia, which is located at the base of the brain.
It's like all the parts of the brain.
Yeah, pretty much. Alcohol is, and you know a lot about alcohol, obviously, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Yeah.
Alcohol is a neurobehavioral teratogen, or an agent that causes genetic mutation and may cause brain damage and modifying behavior. Of course, not every child exposed to alcohol in utero is affected, and it will depend on several factors like genetics, nutrition, environmental factors, the age of the pregnant woman.
Quantity and frequency.
Exactly.
Mostly.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you have a glass of wine.
Exactly.
That's not, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I'm not a doctor, but if you're drinking every day like you're not even pregnant.
It likely will be a problem.
Yeah, like definitely.
Also, the number of pregnancies and the number of children that the pregnant woman has given birth to all impact.
Oh, really?
Yes. Lisa's father, John Patterson, a decorated Vietnam War veteran, was transferred to Fort Riley, Kansas shortly after Lisa's birth, prompting her entire family to relocate. However, with John frequently away on duty, Lisa's piece of shit mother, Judy, would seize the opportunity to unleash a relentless reign of terror within the household.
Judy's an alcoholic because she was drinking while she was pregnant?
Yes.
Okay.
Judy's wrath only escalated after she and John divorced in 1971, which left Lisa and her sister in Judy's custody. This marked the beginning of an even darker chapter in Lisa's life, as the absence of her father's stabilizing presence allowed Judy's cruelty to flourish unchecked. Lisa was trapped in a vicious cycle of generational abuse that began long before her birth and continued to shape her life from the moment she entered the world. Ongoing and relentless torture by Judy and eventually Judy's new husband, Jack Kleiner, among other family members, defined Lisa's broken childhood. Judy and Jack would routinely tape Lisa's mouth shut with duct tape whenever she spoke out of turn, which instilled in Lisa a paralyzing fear of suffocation if she cried while her mouth was taped shut. That's something you brought up on 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
On days when young Lisa would refuse to finish her meals, her mother would cruelly leave her strapped into her high chair for hours upon hours as punishment, reinforcing in Lisa a sense of helplessness and terror.
A baby?
Yeah. Both Lisa and her younger sister Patty endured consistent physical beatings with belts, cords, and hangers, and were subjected to frigid showers during which they were held under the cold water by their mother and stepfather. Sadly, and this is really heartbreaking, Lisa's first words as an 18-month-old toddler were, "Don't spank me."
Wow.
Spankings, by the way, would happen after the children were stripped entirely naked first. Judy not only subjected Lisa and Lisa's sister Patty to relentless physical abuse and psychological torment, but also went so far as to kill the family dog right in front of them by brutally smashing its head in with a shovel as a form of punishment and torment to the children. When Lisa wasn't being beaten and tortured by her mother and stepfather, she was flat out neglected. It was often her 6-year-old half-sister, Diane, who would change Lisa's diapers, get her dressed, and cook her meals. Diane would even stand in front of Lisa to hide her as Jack would beat the shit out of Judy in front of them, looking to see who he could turn his barbaric fists onto next. In the first 14 years of Lisa's life, she and her family moved a total of 17 times before finally settling down in a dilapidated trailer at the end of a dead-end road, a trailer that lacked running water and no electricity, like barely a roof over their head.
Yeah.
Prior to that, they lived in Washington, Kansas, Colorado, Oklahoma, California, and Texas.
Oh, so they were moving.
Oh, yeah.
They weren't just like bouncing from place to place.
No, they were.
I'm saying within a small geographic area, they were all over.
Yes. And for Lisa, who remained trapped in that house of horrors, wherever the location, the summer after 8th grade marked the beginning of the rapes by her stepfather, Jack. Jack even built a small room that he attached to their trailer where they used to live so that he could attack, violate, and torment her in private. As if that wasn't deplorable enough, Jack would also invite other men into their home to sexually assault Lisa, who would orally, vaginally, and anally rape her, one after the other after the other.
What the fuck?
These men would also take it in turn to urinate on Lisa as well. And even though Judy already knew exactly what was going on and did nothing to intervene or report the crimes, she actually made it worse.
How do you even bring that up to a friend at a bar?
Your past, you mean?
Hey, you're a good guy. I like you. I'm having fun. You like the Giants. I like the Giants. Do you want to rape my stepdaughter and then piss on her?
Feeling is that these depraved people run in the same circles and probably like naturally have had these types of discussions before. I don't think it's something you come out of nowhere with.
I guess maybe. I don't know. Because I remember when I was drinking and doing drugs, I hung out with some undesirable people. Never in a million years did anyone go, hey, are you into you smoke weed and do cocaine and stuff, but are you into oh my God, other stuff? I can't even imagine a world where you would broach that conversation.
Maybe it comes up subtly.
Forgetting about with multiple people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I know. I'm trying to actually answer that question and I can't.
Yeah. No, neither can I.
On one occasion, after Judy happened to walk in on her disgusting husband sexually assaulting her innocent daughter.
Judy walked in on them?
Yep. Judy became so angry at Lisa that she grabbed a gun, held it to Lisa's head, and screamed, "How could you do this to me?" So this is what we're dealing with here in terms of her upbringing. Needless to say, Lisa was failed by almost every person and every institution around her, from her own mother to the school system, who should have seen the poverty-stricken, traumatized child caving in on herself, to the criminal justice and social welfare systems who knew what was going on and did nothing.
Yeah.
Because during Judy's eventual divorce proceeding from Jack, all the abuse came out. Yet incredibly, inexcusably, neither Jack nor Judy were ever prosecuted. Even after Lisa once told a counselor that Jack broke a broom while beating the shit out of her, the counselor chose not to report it to the police or help bring the child to safety. I don't get it. I just don't get it. First of all, I don't understand a perfect stranger who wouldn't help a child, but a counselor?
Yeah, the systems in this country. I remember raising a lot of money for this kid, Haven, who was aging out of the foster system. I did it on Thanks Good News, got too big too fast, wasn't even like, I didn't expect it. I raised like $70,000 for him in like 3 days. I posted a video. He was a very sweet, endearing child. And I think everyone symbolically was like, if that's the person that symbolizes this plight that these hundreds or thousands of kids go through, let's try and at least make one life a little bit better. So I raised all this money for him. The Oklahoma, I know it's not Missouri, but Oklahoma Department of Health Services would not let me give him the money. They did everything in their power to keep me from giving him the money.
Do you remember their reasoning?
Their reasoning was privacy, which I understand, but I was like, I'll have an attorney set up a trust and that he can speak to. I don't even need to talk to him. I don't need to know where he lives or even what his last name is. Have him speak to the attorney. They were like, no, we can't do that. An
anonymous donation.
I think these people, and I'm not whatever, but these people who make like $28,000, $32,000 a year were just like furious at the fact that I raised all that money for him.
Shame on them.
Aside from the fact when you are living in that realm of income, which is low, I mean, very low at this point, 2024, everything is like hectic and chaotic and you don't know what's going on, how you're going to do this, how you're going to do that, whether or not you're going to have a place to live from one month to the next. So I think all of that filters out into your life and everything is a problem.
Yes.
So like these people who were ignoring him were probably like, oh, okay, big deal. Broke a broom. What do you want us to do? It's already done.
They had a lot of uphill, climbs of their own going on.
Yeah, I mean,
but still,
but uphill battles in my life have made me more compassionate, not less compassionate.
Right, and also that doesn't give you a free pass to not help. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
As Lisa Montgomery grew up, court records indicate that people increasingly observed her as appearing spaced out, not emotionally present, or lost in her own little world. Her demeanor seemed detached from reality, no doubt a reflection of her raging inner turmoil.
You have to compartmentalize.
You have to disassociate to get up. Somehow, Lisa eventually managed to graduate from high school in Cleveland, Oklahoma in 1986 with aspirations of joining the Air Force to earn enough money to attend college. However, her plans took a different turn because in 1985, Judy married her fifth husband, Richard Bowman. And Richard came as a package deal with his son, Carl. And Carl, Lisa's now stepbrother, impregnated her when she was 17 years old, which prompted the two to get married in a shotgun wedding in 1986.
Married?
Yup. Between 1987 and 1990, Lisa gave birth to 3 daughters and 1 son.
Between 1987 and 1990?
Yeah, she was basically pregnant one after the other.
3 daughters, 1 son?
Yep.
4 children. 3 years.
No, well, remember she was pregnant before that.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Now, Carl Bowman was not the biological father of one of the girls, but he was a sadistic rapist who fucking tortured Lisa. After the birth of her last child in 1990, Lisa underwent a tubal ligation, which is a form of sterilization, seemingly against her will, but at Carl's urging. Okay, remember this.
Yeah.
Sadly, the children that Lisa already had bore the brunt of her complete inability to parent. The kids were always filthy and could be seen running around outside, naked and unsupervised. Walls and floors were missing in Lisa's home. There was no running water or plumbing, no furniture or beds, exposed loose wires, and the children slept directly on the floor. One of Lisa's daughters, then just 2.5 years old, accidentally ingested an entire bottle of Tylenol in 1993 because there just wasn't any parental supervision. Lisa, Carl, and their children moved from place to place during her adult years, just as Lisa had done as a child. They lived at 61 addresses in the 36 years before she went on to commit the atrocious crime that we're getting to momentarily, but that I already described in the intro. Ultimately, Lisa and Carl wound up getting divorced and then remarried and then re-divorced for a final time in 1998. By this point in her life, Lisa's trauma was so profound that it significantly impaired her neurological functioning. As a result, she struggled with processing information and navigating social relationships, amongst many other issues.
Oh, yeah.
She had difficulty maintaining her hygiene and often lost focus during conversations, finding it increasingly more challenging to plan and execute simple tasks. Lisa really struggled with a variety of mental disorders, including bipolar disorder and temporal lobe epilepsy. She developed a dissociative disorder and complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a chronic mental illness that's common in those exposed to overwhelming threats to their physical safety, which was her entire upbringing and adulthood because her husband was a sadistic rapist.
Yeah.
According to a renowned expert on torture and trauma named Dr. Catherine Porterfield, the impact of Lisa's sexual abuse was massive, and her disorder, her disassociation from reality, was one of the most severe cases she'd ever seen. She went on to indicate that Lisa, quote, has a very troubled relationship to her own body. She literally does not perceive her body accurately and in some cases has trouble remembering, for instance, states of her body with accuracy. In fact, and that's the end of the quote, one source indicated that Lisa had head lice for 5 years and was completely unaware.
Wow.
In 1999, following...
The human brain is remarkable, by the way, what it does just to survive.
Yeah. In 1999, following her divorce from Cunty Carl, Lisa moved to Melbourne, Kansas.
Carl.
Yeah. I just wanted to use alliteration.
Yeah.
She moved rather to a town about 40 miles south of Topeka with 375 residents. She became romantically involved with a divorced electrician named Kevin Montgomery, whom she wound up marrying the following year.
Lisa Montgomery, right?
Okay. Very good. And this is when Lisa's internal turmoil began to really visibly manifest, even more than it already had been. Because despite having been surgically sterilized, Lisa started to tell everyone that she was pregnant. And she'd done that multiple times. In fact, just 2 days before committing the crime, her abusive ex-husband/stepbrother, Cunty Carl, filed for custody of their children and threatened to expose her pregnancy deception in order to gain custody.
What was the other case where someone was lying about being pregnant? And she was not able to
with the other case we did about this.
Womb Raider?
Womb Raider, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The fear of losing her children, coupled with years of deep trauma and severe mental illness, pushed Lisa to a breaking point, one that led her into a devastating phase of preparation. And that plan involved packing a 4-inch steak knife, umbilical cord clamps, and part of a clothesline into her car and driving 175 miles from her home in East Central Kansas to the Northwest Missouri area to murder a pregnant dog breeder named Bobbi Jo Stinnett and to steal her fetus. Now, unbeknownst to Bobbi Jo, she had actually met her killer 8 months earlier at a dog show in Abilene, Kansas in April 2004. Lisa Montgomery, who really was a fellow rat terrier enthusiast, struck up a casual acquaintance with Bobbi Jo at the event. Afterward, as I mentioned, the two women continued to exchange online messages occasionally. During these conversations, Lisa learned that Bobbi Jo was pregnant and, pretending to be pregnant herself, claimed that she was expecting twins. Bobbi Jo, having not seen Lisa since the dog show, had no reason to doubt her story. Also, remember, on December 16th, Bobbi Jo believed that she was meeting someone else named Darlene Fisher,
That's right.
a woman she never met, who was supposedly interested in buying a rat terrier puppy in time for Christmas. Now, you may be wondering, as I did, won't Bobbi Jo recognize Lisa when she shows up at her home pretending to be Darlene Fisher? Well, Bobbi Jo had only met Lisa once amidst the chaos of a dog show 8 months earlier.
Yeah.
It's understandable that she wouldn't have remembered what she looked like, especially out of context. So in the quiet of her home, Bobbi Jo remained completely unaware that the person now standing before her on her front doorstep was actually Lisa Montgomery, a figure from her past who harbored the absolute darkest of intentions. Bobbi Jo let Lisa, aka Darlene, into her home. She guided her to the den on the left side of the entryway where the puppies were kept. And as Bobbi Jo bent down to pick up one of her beloved pups, Lisa, posing as Darlene, struck with a sudden and brutal force immediately plunging Bobbi Jo into a nightmarish reality. Trigger warning.
Okay, thanks.
Lisa's attack was merciless and swift. She wrapped a clothing line tightly around Bobbi Jo's neck and applied relentless pressure until her pregnant victim lost consciousness. Then, with chilling precision, Lisa grabbed a 4-inch serrated paring knife and sliced open Bobbi Jo's abdomen. Once her insides were exposed, Lisa ripped the baby girl right out of her unconscious mother's womb. Then, in an absolutely horrifying twist, Bobbi Jo woke up at that moment to see and feel her precious baby being ripped from her dying body. Struggling through the haze of unimaginable pain and visceral shock, and fueled by her fierce desire to protect her child, the incredibly strong and brave Bobbi Jo fought like hell against her depraved assailant and even managed to pull out a clump of Lisa's hair. However, Lisa was completely undeterred and proceeded to wrap the clothesline around Bobbi Jo's neck once again, tightening it with a brutal finality and silencing the courageous mother forever. Shortly after this unfathomably heinous act of violence, Bobbi Jo's mother, Becky Harper, arrived to check on her daughter after not hearing from her since their last phone call earlier in the day, which brings us to the top of the episode. Within 11 minutes of Becky calling 911 announcing that her daughter's stomach exploded and beginning to administer CPR, Nottoway County Sheriff Ben Espy arrived on the scene with his chief investigator not far behind. In the 12 years he'd been sheriff, Ben Espy had responded to 6 murders, all of which had been solved within a 24-hour period. But the scene he was looking at now, this was unlike anything he'd ever encountered, not even in his worst nightmare. Before him was a deceased 23-year-old woman with a vacant womb, a cut umbilical cord, and a missing baby. Immediately, Sheriff Espy dispatched some of his deputies to the Kawasaki factory where Bobbi Jo's husband, Zeb, worked. He wanted Zeb interviewed immediately and considered that he may have had a part in this atrocity, which is statistically very likely.
Yeah.
At the same time, the Buchanan County Crime Scene Investigation of Missouri began combing through Bobbi Jo and Zeb's home and sifting through all of their garbage cans in an effort to find a clue that may shed some light on what the hell happened. And as they were looking, the following things happened. 1, Becky mentioned that her daughter was expecting someone that morning named Darlene Fisher to come and adopt one of the puppies. 2, one of the neighbors recalled seeing a red car in front of the home with the letter H on the hood. And 3, Sheriff Espy put out a bolo to the Missouri State Highway Patrol. A bolo is a bee on the lookout. But before we continue, I have a pop quiz.
I was wondering what.
Yeah,
I know, I get it.
We needed more of a ramp up today.
Yeah.
Pop quiz.
Okay.
How many documented fetal abductions have taken place in the U.S. since the 1980s? A, 6, B, 25, C, 41.
B.
Yes.
25.
Yeah. There have been around 25 documented cases of fetal abductions in the U.S. since the 1980s. Here's what law enforcement believed happened after Lisa Montgomery abducted Bobbi Jo's now born child. She left Skidmore with the baby in tow and traveled west out of town on Highway DD toward Hickory Creek and the Nottoway River. Then she made a beeline for Topeka, Kansas, careful not to break any speed limits or draw attention to her nefarious behavior. At some point during the trip, however, Lisa did pull over to the side of the road where she proceeded to clean the baby girl with baby wipes, seal her belly button with a pair of clamps intended for that purpose, and throw some bloody towels into the trunk of her car next to the murder weapons, which included the clothesline and a 4-inch steak knife. Then, Lisa placed a call to the pastor of the First Church of God in downtown Melbourne, Kansas, to announce that she'd just given birth. Meanwhile, doctors at St. Francis Hospital in Maryville, Missouri, were officially pronouncing the baby's real mother, Bobbi Jo Stinnett, dead. Every major news network soon got wind of her death, the manner and method by which she died, and the fact that her infant was missing. Sheriff Espy published an Amber Alert for the baby, which hitherto had been an unprecedented move. Because in the state of Missouri, in order for an Amber Alert to be activated, 3 criteria must be met. 1, law enforcement has to confirm that the child's actually been abducted. 2, law enforcement has to believe that the circumstances surrounding the abduction indicate that the child is in danger of serious bodily harm or death.
Yep.
And 3, there needs to be enough descriptive information about the child, abductor, and or suspect's vehicle to believe that an immediate broadcast alert will even help.
Yeah.
It was the 3rd criterion in particular that posed a challenge here. As such, the sheriff's request for the Amber Alert was denied.
Really?
However, 2 hours later, after intervention by Congressman Sam Graves, the alert was implemented in Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, New Mexico, and Nebraska.
Nice.
This case is believed to be the first time an Amber Alert was ever activated for a child kidnapped from the womb.
I'm sure.
Yeah. As the media frenzy erupted and the Amber Alert flashed across countless television screens, Lisa advanced to the next stage of her malevolent plan. She called her husband Kevin and her teenage children, Rebecca and Ryan, and fabricated a story that she had just given birth at the Birth and Women's Center in Topeka. Kevin, having been misled by Lisa's elaborate web of deceit, believed her story because Lisa had been orchestrating fake prenatal appointments for months, each time crafting elaborate excuses to prevent Kevin from attending. Eventually, Kevin stopped insisting on joining, and it basically allowed Lisa to relegate him to the background, so he never caught on.
Yeah.
Despite Lisa's behavior and the fact that her belly never grew to the size expected of a full-term pregnant woman, Kevin never questioned the authenticity of her claims. And one theory as to why he never questioned is tied to Kevin's past tragedy, because it turns out that Kevin lost an infant daughter during childbirth with his previous wife. So it's theorized that Kevin, desperate to believe in the possibility of a new child, clung to Lisa's claims that she was pregnant and convinced himself of their truth, or their lie, I should say, even as the evidence suggested otherwise. So when Lisa instructed Kevin and her kids to pick her up at the Long John Silver's fast food restaurant across the street from the birthing facility on December 16th at 5:30 p.m., the request, though odd, was not entirely out of left field because they thought she was pregnant. Lisa attempted to breastfeed the baby, but was unsuccessful. Duh. So instead of feeding the infant, she instead decided to take her to meet the pastor she called earlier in the day from the side of the road, Pastor Wheatley, as well as other members of the church who gushed over her tiny new bundle of joy. Even though many of them whispered and gossiped after Lisa left the church about the strange sight of her parading an hours-old newborn baby around a crowd of people in the dead of winter.
Very strange.
And many of them commented, too, about the 1-inch scratch across the baby's left eyebrow, which was caused either by the blade slicing into her mother's womb or Lisa's fingernail as she callously yanked her out of the uterus. The baby also had bruises on her chin and right eyelid. Meanwhile, as Lisa presented her new baby like Rafiki presenting Simba to the kingdom, Sheriff Espy and the FBI received a tip from a woman named Diane Siktar, who had been on the same online rat terrier message board as Bobbi Jo had been on. Listen to this. And she noticed that Bobbi Jo had been messaging with a woman named Darlene Fisher. She also noticed that another woman on the page, Lisa Montgomery, had openly been chatting about her own pregnancy. However, the timeline of the posts just were not adding up. Lisa would have to have been pregnant for far longer than 9 months if you look at the dates on which she was advertising her pregnancy. Incredibly, through a little bit of online sleuthing, this woman, Diane, realized that Lisa Montgomery and Darlene Fisher were the same person.
Nice.
So she notified the FBI, who immediately connected with Sheriff Espy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the St. Joseph PD CSI technicians meticulously extracted critical data from Bobbi Jo's computer, and their efforts led them straight to Lisa Montgomery's IP address. So, on Friday, December 17th, FBI agents swarmed Lisa Montgomery's 2-story white farmhouse in Melbourne, Kansas, setting up a tight perimeter of surveillance. And it didn't take long for the FBI to eventually storm into the house while demanding that Lisa surrender the baby.
Fast.
Ironically, as this was happening, the Amber Alert for the baby's abduction was flashing across Lisa's television.
Really?
Yeah, that's like a chilling visual. Following Lisa's arrest, Agent Randy Strong launched into an intense 4-hour interrogation. And under relentless questioning, Lisa Montgomery cracked and confessed to every detail of her heinous crime, from fabricating her pregnancy to murdering Bobbi Jo and abducting the fetus, who, by the way, had been given the name Victoria Jo by her mother, Bobbi Jo, before her death. And thank goodness, baby Victoria Jo, or Tori Jo, weighing in at about 5 pounds 11 ounces, was determined by the medical team at Stormont Vale Regional Health Center in Topeka to be healthy and miraculously unharmed. Mm. It was there that baby Tori met for the first time her real dad, Zeb. Both Tori and Zeb then moved in with Bobbi Jo's mother, Becky Harper, so that they could all come together as a family and begin the process of healing and rebuilding their lives. Lisa Montgomery was charged with kidnapping, resulting in death, a crime punishable by either a mandatory life sentence along with $250,000 fine or the death penalty. Pop quiz.
Okay.
Approximately how many crimes are recognized by the federal government as punishable by the sentence of death? A, 15, B, 40, C, 75.
A.
No.
Not 15.
Not 15.
B?
Yeah.
40?
40. Most involve murder while in the process of committing a second crime, like in this case, kidnapping.
Wait, hold on. Most charges that are eligible for the death penalty involve a death in the middle of another crime.
Correct.
Okay.
Also, by the way, 61% of federal executions in the 20th century included minority defendants. Just adding that. Lisa was held in Kansas at the Wyandotte County Jail and made her first appearance in federal court on Monday, December 20th, 2004. When a kidnapping leads to a death, it falls under federal jurisdiction. So her trial wound up taking place in the Western District of Missouri, which is a federal court in court jurisdiction. Mm-hmm. Representing the state was the U.S. Attorney Todd Graves. So if the name Graves sounds familiar, it's because he was the brother of Congressman Sam Graves, who's the one who played a key role in getting the Amber Alert activated.
Yeah.
Nottoway County prosecuting attorney David Baird also represented the state. Lisa Montgomery's trial officially began in April 2007, and the evidence against her was basically insurmountable, even though Lisa kept changing her story. One day she admitted to her crime, and the next day she denied having ever stepped foot inside Bobbi Jo's house that day.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, she's very sick.
She's not well. She was all over the place. But then, during her pre-trial incarceration in a Leavenworth, Kansas prison, she not only found Jesus, but also found loads of inspiration and comfort from which of the following sources?
Pop quiz.
Pop quiz.
Now they're coming in hot.
They tend to do that. A, Eminem's song Mockingbird. B, Dr. Seuss's book, Oh, the Places You'll Go. C, the book Chicken Soup for the Incarcerated Soul.
A.
Yeah. Did you go through the timing?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I just...
Because you would know when that came out.
Yeah, but the other ones were out at that same time.
Yeah, true.
Dr. Seuss is a perennial favorite, and so is Chicken Soup series, which, by the way, I mean, one of the fucking biggest book franchises.
Amazing.
Ever.
Yes. Lisa's defense attorney was a man named Frederick Ducart, who, listen to this, I'm sorry to laugh, it's not funny, but who, according to the Federal Capital Habeas Project, uniquely holds the less than flattering distinction of being the only trial lawyer to have had multiple clients executed on federal death row.
Wow.
It's quite the accolade.
Yeah.
Frederick Ducart visited Lisa in jail a whopping total of 3 times before assembling his shitty defense, claiming that Lisa suffered from an extremely rare condition called pseudocyesis.
Come again?
Pseudocyesis.
Okay.
Pseudocyesis. Yes.
If you say so, yeah.
Well, listen, pop quiz.
If you pseudo say so.
Pop quiz. I was so not excited.
Just tell me the fuck. What is pseudocyesis?
What is pseudocyesis?
Not being able to get the pop quiz out.
Okay.
What is it?
A, fear of not being able to procreate.
Okay.
B, phantom pregnancy. C, believing you are the creator and therefore entitled to all beings.
C.
No, I made that one up.
Wow.
Pretty creative, right?
B?
Yes.
Phantom pregnancies?
Yes. Pseudocyesis, aka phantom pregnancy, is a psychosomatic condition in which a woman believes she is pregnant and exhibits real, actual physical symptoms accordingly, like abdominal enlargement, missed periods, despite not actually being pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
The physical changes are real, but there is no actual fetus. But this argument that her attorney made was absurd, as Lisa did not display physical symptoms or actually believe that she was pregnant.
Yeah.
She knew she was lying about it. It was a stupid-ass defense. Lisa's attorney also attempted to present an insanity plea to the court, a notoriously difficult case to make in court. Because remember, the legal definition of insanity requires clear and convincing evidence that the defendant was unable to appreciate the nature or wrongfulness of their acts due to a severe mental disease or defect.
Mm-hmm.
The insanity defense is used in less than 1% of all criminal cases. It is even less common in death penalty cases because the high stakes involved.
You don't want to, they're not going to fry an insane person, right?
No.
Yeah.
But to use that defense is so risky because it very rarely wins.
Got it.
And the stakes are death.
Yeah.
And the success rate of the insanity defense is so low. It's typically successful in only about 25% of cases where it's even used.
Yeah.
At trial, Lisa's legal team also cited some evidence of the physical abuse that she endured. They called a few completely underprepared witnesses to the stand, and that was basically the extent of their defense. The prosecutors came in and fucking annihilated the defense.
Yeah.
They argued that Lisa had meticulously planned and executed the crime with the clear intent of kidnapping Bobbi Jo's unborn baby.
And killing Bobbi Jo.
In the process.
Yeah.
Internet searches on Lisa's computer revealed that she had downloaded an internet video on how to perform a cesarean section. There was also a ton of physical evidence as well, from Lisa's DNA all over the crime scene to Bobbi Jo's DNA all over Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
The prosecution portrayed Montgomery as a calculating and cold-blooded killer who knew exactly what she was doing when she was doing it from start to finish.
Yeah.
And that is why the insanity defense is fucked.
Yeah.
In the end, the jury deliberated for less than 5 hours. And on October 26, 2007, Lisa Montgomery was found guilty and sentenced to death.
Wow.
It wasn't until after her sentencing that a new, far more competent legal team began to uncover the sheer horror that led to that horrific moment in Lisa's life. Details regarding the vast extent of the sexual violence and torture that she endured that likely would have kept her from ever facing the death penalty had it been originally argued in court. Because to the lawyers and professional experts who spent years investigating Lisa's crime after she was given the death sentence, who took the time to analyze her complex personality and horrific formative experiences, the gruesome headlines about her depraved act are just the beginning of a journey. Nobody's condoning or excusing what she did, but they're attempting to understand it more.
Yeah, but and hear me out, wouldn't all of that just not have any effect on whether or not she got the death penalty? Because...
No,
it would?
No, the jury could be more sympathetic and give her life.
Okay, now I'm about to say something crazy.
Go.
Wouldn't it be more humane to end her life? Because of what she went through growing up and how she is never going to be able to live
I hear you.
A decent life.
Completely, but
especially in jail.
I would never presume to know if she was in a position where she wanted her life to end.
Yeah. No, I mean...
She found Jesus when she was awaiting trial. You know what I mean? Like her life perhaps had some kind of meaning to her. She has 4 children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to just kind of sort of blanket statement say to put somebody like that out of their misery, I don't.
Well, that's just me because I'm ready to die.
I know you are. I mean, for you, if God forbid, listen, I'll make sure that they just end you. But
if I get a speeding ticket, kill me.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
I'm just kidding, people. I'm just kidding. I'm okay. I'm really
What
enjoying
Tank
my life.
does,
Yeah,
kids.
it's just fun.
A clinical social worker named Janet Volsang spent several days talking to Lisa Montgomery in 2016. And she concluded that, and this is a quote, talking to Lisa was like talking to Vietnam and Korean War veterans who had been held in holes and bamboo cages under the most horrible conditions.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
She was isolated, brainwashed, humiliated, and degraded, not allowed to speak, and beaten at will.
And raped by different people for fun over and over. Her father built a room.
Yeah, her stepfather, yeah.
Quick story. My mom, love you, Mom, took a woodshop class when we were kids, so that she could make a paddle to spank us.
Shut up.
Swear to God.
Did she ever use it?
A handful of times, but not like me. I'm honestly, when I'm saying handful, I can remember like once.
Yeah.
But it's so funny to me that she, at that point, went through the yellow pages, got to W, called Woodshop Inc., whatever, and was like, hey, are you guys offering any classes for woodshop? Yeah, what are you looking to do? Just mind your business. I just want to come and I want to make wood stuff, okay?
Oh, man, I have a lot of feelings happening right now. A lot.
She also says that she may be joking, but I don't think she is. But anyway, yeah. So the fact that her father built a rape room.
God.
Horrible.
Every part of her childhood was traumatic. Every part of it. And she was betrayed by every single person and institution who were presumably there to protect her. It's just, there's so many layers of betrayal and abuse and shame and humiliation.
Oh, yeah.
Just to finish the quote by this social worker, she went on to say, there is no question that Mrs. Montgomery is profoundly mentally ill. She has multiple impairments. No question at all about that.
Oh my God, you know what I just realized? Mental illness, right? So physical illness. I've said this before. I believe there's a spectrum of mental illness going from like what would be considered a head cold to pancreatic cancer. There's like dealable stuff, and then there's like, okay, you just got to go somewhere. But physical wellness is affected by external things like viruses and bacteria coming from outside. Mental illness is affected by your environment growing up. Because I always thought it was just like inborn and then environmental factors could exacerbate it. But I don't think anybody would wind up mentally healthy after growing up in an environment like that.
Right. And I'm always on the fence with that type of a statement because I work with survivors. So I see what people can overcome.
But define overcome also.
Right. I mean, seeking justice now, right?
You don't know what their life is
like.
No,
I do. You know? And I'm not suggesting that they're like thriving and doing great, but.
That's what I'm saying.
But in their world, right, they were absolutely affected by it.
So fucked up. Just leave everyone alone.
Fuck, man. Well, that's just it. And I hope I'm not coming across as sort of defending Lisa Montgomery. I'm not.
No, you're not.
But I always, in every case, empathize with the child that the perpetrator was, the child that endured this type of abuse, this level of horror. God. I'm sorry. I do. With that child, I empathize. I don't excuse what she did. I think it's depraved, disgusting, and she needed to go away.
Yeah. She was going to hurt too many people.
Exactly. But all of this was not really presented in court by Lisa's defense attorney. Also, in a capital case, the American Bar Association dictates that a defense attorney must, at a minimum, work with a mitigation specialist. And a mitigation specialist is an investigator that digs into the defendant's background to reveal trauma, mental illness, and anything that can help the jury understand the defendant as a full human. Her attorney did not work with one.
Yeah, lazy. He went 3 times to the jail and just threw in an insanity plea.
And saying she had pseudopsychosis. We're going to leave it.
She did.
Furthermore, in the course of hundreds of interviews, Lisa's new legal team uncovered that her abuser, or one of her abusers, her stepfather.
One of her multiple abusers, yeah.
Her stepfather, Jack, would slam Lisa's head so hard against the concrete floor during the abuse that she suffered traumatic brain injury.
Yeah.
And MRI brain scans from October 11th, 2016, which I've actually seen, show that Lisa had both structural and functional brain abnormalities in areas of the brain that controlled impulsive behavior, amongst other behaviors.
Yeah.
To say nothing of the fact that she was a victim of fetal alcohol syndrome.
Yeah.
As all of these experts continued to reanalyze Lisa's past and her vulnerabilities, the faculty director of the Cornell Center on the Death Penalty Worldwide said, and her name was Sandra Babcock, okay, she made the following statement: "If the execution goes ahead, we should all feel a deep sense of shame." But go ahead, it did. In January 2021, Donald Trump, along with the Department of Justice, concluded a series of 13 federal executions, ending a 17-year moratorium on the federal death penalty.
Federal death penalty is different than state, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Okay.
Over just 6 months in what the Supreme Court described as an expedited spree of executions, the government executed more than 3 times as many people as it had in the previous 60 years.
Really? In that short period of time?
Yes.
Wow.
And at 1:31 a.m. on Wednesday, January 13th, Lisa Montgomery became the 11th person to be executed in that spree. She was the only woman on death row and the first woman to be put to death since 1953. Can
you imagine being on death row and then hearing like, yo, they're doing them. They're doing a lot of them. Oh. Like they're really they're banging them out real fast.
It reminds me of when I was in college and like you're doing stuff you're not supposed to be doing in your room.
Yeah.
And you constantly just like getting away with it. And then you hear the door slamming and they're like, the RAs are they're coming.
Oh,
they're knocking on every door. It's like, what? Yeah. A little different, but.
Well, that's why I got expelled from college.
Yes, I know. Sorry to use that as an example.
Like if I was a fucking loser smoking weed in my on-campus housing.
I wasn't
like
slick
dumbass.
enough to get away with it.
Yeah, I was. The guy from what we called him What's Up Dude, because that's all he ever said, was just darted out of the room and ruined my life.
Oh, no, he didn't. He made your life.
Well.
He ruined it temporarily. It sucked, but look where you are now.
What's up, dude?
Okay.
Yeah, that's all he said.
Listen to this.
Okay.
The government also did not allow Lisa's spiritual advisor to be with her at the time of her execution, even though the plan had been for him to sing Jesus Loves Me while the lethal injection was administered. I just feel like she sucks. She's horrible. But she was fucking betrayed every step of the way, even her last moment. Something that's everybody is entitled to. Exactly. In her situation, they didn't give it to her.
Yeah.
Listen, my heart is with Bobbi Jo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let me state that for the record.
Yeah.
But all of these things considered, she had a tough go, Lisa.
She had no chance.
I know.
No shot.
Bobbi Jo Stinnett was laid to rest in a silver-plated coffin with gold trim at Hillcrest Cemetery just south of Skidmore. She is remembered as a friendly, cheerful woman with big, beautiful brown eyes, auburn hair, and a constant smile. She spent hours a day daydreaming about the future she would build with her baby girl. Bobbi Jo meticulously planned every detail, from decorating the nursery with soft pastel colors to imagining the first time she would hold her daughter in her arms. Her joy was palpable to those around her as she embraced the excitement and anticipation of becoming a mother with an open heart, ready to nurture and love her child unconditionally. This chapter of her life, filled with hope and dreams, was tragically and senselessly cut short, resulting in Tori Jo's birthday falling on the same date as her mother's death. As the Reverend stated at Bobbi Jo's funeral, "We have assembled not just for an ending, but a beginning. Bobbi Jo is in a safer place now. It is not time for anger, but a time of healing." And that's the case.
That's the case of Bobbi Jo Stinnett?
Yeah.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah.
But I can't say, I mean, I had no recollection of anything except for her name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And obviously we covered Taylor Parker and Reagan Hancock in the Womb Raider episode that we did.
Yes.
Similar storyline, obviously, in that there was a fetal abduction, but obviously the details and the people involved, very different. But this is just such a tragic, heartbreaking case. I mean, and to see pictures of Bobbi Jo too, like she really was just this beautiful person.
Mm-hmm.
And her daughter,
so young,
has stayed out of the public eye, which is a good thing. She's a teenager now, but by all accounts, from what I have been able to garner from my research, she is doing well in life. So I hope her mom can look down on that and be proud and grateful for that.
Yeah. Okay, you ready?
Is that how you're going to announce Tanks
Time
Tidbits?
for Tanks Tidbits. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Clappity clap clap. Make those pecs clap.
Audience of one, as you would say.
Yeah. So this is good. Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
So the last episode we did, when I had an existential breakdown and excused myself, I made a decision. Okay. Made a list of all the things that happened in my life that, even on any level, upset me, rattled me, confused me, left me feeling alone, empty, sad, broken, whatever. I went back, and this is going to sound weird, but it's a pretty common exercise to do this in therapy, to like close your eyes, go back to the time that you're thinking of, and be who you needed back then for yourself, right?
Be who you needed. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Which, by the way, like, I was talking to my mom about some of this stuff the other night. If my older son's friend got hit by a car and died, I was about the same age. I was actually 1 year younger than my older son is right now. My heart would be broken for him. Like, I wouldn't know what to do. I would try my best. But then if 6 months later, our friend who lives down the block, his best friend, his house burned down, I would be even more lost. And then another 6 months later, if while they were living in the trailer, that kid's mom died, I would be even more lost. So like, I really, truly, from the bottom of my heart and every fiber of my being, do not blame anybody for not giving me what I needed. I don't think it was possible, except for now, right? So I went back, saw myself, by the way, cried so hard, my nose almost popped off my face. It was good.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a good one.
Cleansing.
Real good. But I imagined a conversation where someone would be like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go back in time and feel bad for myself. And I don't know why I have conversations in my head with people that don't exist, but I do. Okay? So
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
But if you feel weird about that, this is the point. If you feel weird about doing that, it's not about going back in time and feeling bad for yourself. It's about going back in time and giving yourself what you needed at that time. If that circumstance requires you feeling bad, so be it. I've gone through 3 of the experiences. The first one was the only one that was like that heavy for me. The next 2, I was like, just being there for myself. And then the last one, I may come across more where it's like it was a little bit more devastating and crushing, but it's not about like, I could see people confusing it and being like, oh, so what do you just go like have a pity party? Absolutely not.
So when you're going back in time, are you talking to your younger self and saying, can you give us an example?
So like when my friend Brian died, right? I was 10. I was at my aunt's house. We were having like a fun summer swim party or whatever. So from what I remember, I was just told, and like, that was it. My mom probably like stood around for a little while. My dad maybe too. I don't remember. But so in my head, I went back to that scenario, took myself out of it, went for a walk.
I see.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're really living out moment to moment.
Oh, yeah. And just was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
This is so sad. I'm so sad for you. Whatever you need, I'll do. And if I felt like I needed to talk, I talked. If I felt like I needed to be quiet. But when I really lost it, so the Adam Project, which I've spoken about before, right? The Ryan Reynolds movie.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh. There's at the Adam Project, this guy comes out of the sky in a spaceship, right? Crashes into the woods. He's outside of his childhood home, but he is there as a child.
Oh, so he's like watching himself?
No, time travel.
Oh.
So in the future, time travel exists, right? So at the point where he gets to himself, his father had just died, right? So not only does 40-year-old Ryan Reynolds, his father's dead, but this 12-year-old boy's father is dead also. It's just much more recent for the 12-year-old boy. So eventually this kid figures out that he's him when he does a bunch of stuff that he used to do at the house, like kick the fridge closed a certain way and tell the dog to shut up in the same way simultaneously.
Rude.
Yeah. At the end of the movie, the father who's dead, the son, and Ryan Reynolds are all having a catch. They went to like a different time before everything got fucked up. So they're having a baseball catch outside, and Ryan Reynolds says to himself, he goes, I can't believe I spent my whole life trying to get away from you when you were the best part of me. And that's it. That's all I get. I mean, talk about it's just so true. Like, we have this idea of ourselves when we're young, and it's like, yeah, I don't know, whatever. I was made fun of, and I was uncomfortable, and I felt weird and anxious, and I felt uncomfortable in my own skin and whatever. It's like, no, dude, that's okay. That's normal, first of all. Second of all, be that. So I think it was a metaphor, obviously, because he did go back in time literally, but he kind of healed that part of himself while he was there. But that's what I've been doing. And it's not like I'm not like tripping out or having an out-of-body experience. It's just an imagination thing. Yeah. But it's an exercise. It's an exercise. And it worked real well. Good. That one time. I'm happy for you. And it worked the other times. It just wasn't as intense. Right. So go back in time, give yourself what you need. If that requires feeling bad, do that. If it doesn't, don't. No pressure. But that's it. Love it. Yeah. Great titty today. Thank you for doing all that hard work and research. You really... My pleasure. Really brought it this week. I mean, I live for this. I know. I truly live for this. I know. You do. And it shows. Thank you. If you made it this far, you're a real one. And we'll just see you guys at the next episode. Yeah. Thanks for listening. Bye. Bye.